everybody, Miss Melinda here. I am coming on today with my teammate, with my left-hand lady, with my really awesome friend and cohort named Erin. We are going to be talking about ancestral readings and mediumship and Samhain season and all kinds of things related. So we're going to be doing a fun Q&A. We are excited for you to be here, and we're excited for you to question. You can actually go ahead and put it in the comments now, and then we'll get to it when it's the right time, or you can wait until we have a space for your questions. I see that Erin is joining live. Can you turn your camera around? Hi, Erin. Hi, Erin.
Hi, Melinda. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yay!
Not a fan of the way the video is like cutting my head off, but hey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you today.
Nice to see you.
So for those of you who aren't familiar, Erin is a teammate of mine. We work together really closely, and she has been through a lot of coaching with me. We've been working together for years now. She did a mentorship program with me where we worked together very closely. She studied tarot with me. We studied candle magic together, and we've been through a lot of life changes together. We've talked about everything in between, all kinds of topics of spirituality and, you know, everything that falls in between those cracks, like existential issues and philosophy and you name it. We've been through it together over what, like the last 3 years, has it been?
Yeah.
3 years. So we've done a lot of really close work together. And if you don't know, like maybe you're not on the Facebook group, or maybe you haven't seen Erin around in other places, she works with me, and you, Erin, is incredibly helpful, and I couldn't be happier to have you on my tiny little team. So welcome, Erin.
Thank you.
Yay!
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
And this is your first ever live session on Instagram, right?
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So today, Erin is going to be asking me some questions about ancestral messages, because it is Samhain season, and Samhain is actually the Irish word for November. So Samhain season lasts the entire month of November. We're in the thick of it now. This is the time when the veils are really thin, where we can more easily access the other realms, the unseen realms, those that are around us, the invisibles that are around us that maybe we don't always have a clearer connection with, can really come through really vividly at this time of year. It's a sacred time for divination. It's a great time to do spiritual purification, cleansing, and clearing to prepare yourself for the dark half of the year as we move into that here in the Northern Hemisphere. It's also a time just to honor your ancestors and go within yourself and honor those deep mysteries that connect you to the other realms, really to honor death, but also all of the ways that those deep mysteries affect us while we are alive here as humans. So this is the only time of year that I offer Samhain season readings, and Samhain season readings are ancestral messages. And the way that I channel these specific readings, the way I channel these specific readings on behalf of my clients is through the use of tarot. So we are going to chat about that, and Erin's going to ask me some questions, and then you all can also ask some questions, and it'll be fun. So what are you thinking, Erin?
So I just wanted to start. I'm guessing a lot of the people who are here or who might see this know you, but in case they aren't super familiar with you, do you want to just tell people really quickly, like, how did you get started on this path?
Yeah.
Like, just a real quick synopsis of how you got started on your journey?
Yes. And thanks to everyone who is here. I see a couple of familiar names, and I think I see some new people too. I always want to like say hi to people, but I also don't want to call out your personal name just in case I need to respect your anonymity. But hello, my lovelies. You know who you are. Nice to see you here. So, how did I get started on this path? It's a great question, Erin. We're going to talk about how I got started on the path of mediumship. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Specifically mediumship.
Okay, great. So if I need to start at the beginning with that, I guess I don't, but I want to. I always had a natural propensity towards it. And if you have a natural propensity towards mediumship, one of the things that will show up for you really strongly is dreams about ancestors. And once you become familiar with your dream patterns, obviously there's a lot of ways that you can become familiar with your dream patterns, through journaling or through studying about different kinds of dreams, or maybe you want to dive in deeper and read a little Jung. I don't know, that's just me. But these dreams, they have a different quality, they have a different texture, they have a different feel, they have a different reality to them. So when you have mediumship dreams, they really stick out to you as a very different kind of dream. They usually feel very real, and a lot, not all of the time, but a lot of the times, there's nothing really fantastic happening in the dreams, and that's one way you can distinguish them from other kinds of dreams. A lot of the time, you're really just like sitting somewhere with an ancestor or with a deceased person that you are familiar with, and they're talking to you. They're giving you messages, or they're bringing you some kind of closure, or they're bringing you some kind of clarification, or they might even be gifting you something. That has happened to me before. A loved one's ancestors. Yes, that's another thing, like not just my ancestors or my deceased loved ones, but those who have passed beyond that are close to people in my life that I'm close to, right? So sometimes they'll come through to give me messages for other people as well. And sometimes they will gift you something. And what they're really gifting you, of course, is like energy or healing or clarity or guidance. So I always had those dreams. When I was little, I saw spirits. Obviously, for a really long time, I didn't know that other people didn't have these experiences. Like for a long time in my life, I just took it for granted that this is like how life is lived by people. Probably for longer than I should have. I like probably into my 20s, I was like, wait a second, you guys aren't having these experiences? That's weird. And then of course, when I did, like maybe I consider it to be normal teenage experimentation. I don't know if other people do, but when I did things like light as a feather, hard as a rock, or like Ouija boards or whatever, we had really intense experiences. We had a very intense experience, me and my sister and my step siblings, with a Ouija board. And that was kind of a turning point around 19 years old, when I was like, okay, something else might be going on here. Like, I'm not sure that this is the experience everybody has with the Ouija board. Definitely ruined the whole idea of talking boards for all of my siblings. And also learned very valuable lessons. Of course, everybody does dumb stuff when they're 19, and I had no idea that I had that I could, get such a strong connection with the spirit world. I had no idea what would happen with a Ouija board. But I certainly learned valuable lessons about setting intentions, about what kind of spirit you would like to talk to and why, being able to protect yourself, being able to banish spirits, being able to recognize when an entity might be not out for your best interest, things like that. So, long story short, I had those early experiences, and then, over time it developed as I developed as a person and also as a spiritual person, and just grew up. They developed, not only did they develop naturally, but I paid attention to those gifts. And as we know, those of us who are spiritual or metaphysical or magical, whatever you pay attention to grows, it expands. And I paid attention to those things always, my whole life. So they grew and they expanded. And then it wasn't on and off throughout my whole life. I put a lot of intention and effort and concerted action into developing my different gifts. Part of that was because I needed to understand what was happening with me and what my experiences were and why they were different from other people's. Growing up in rural Michigan in a really conservative environment, there was just about nobody who understood me or wanted to understand the kinds of things that were happening with me. And, I'm older. Okay. So we didn't have internet. We lived in the woods. I went to a very tiny school. So I was on my own. So it was me and the library. I had the secret key to the secret book room, and because I had an awesome librarian, and I spent my life studying these things. And as I was saying, on and off, I put in some effort for development, but it really wasn't until about 15 years ago that I started to work even harder and more consistently and for longer periods of time at specifically developing these kinds of skills, and specifically mediumship. If you aren't familiar with me, I know a lot of my regular people are here and are familiar with me, but part of my story is that I just relocated back to rural Michigan after living in Austin, Texas for about 12 years. My experience in Austin was really, really valuable for my spiritual progress and my spiritual path, and specifically as it relates to mediumship. In Austin, I got some really good experience and hands-on training with spiritualism from a few different perspectives. And so through that, I practiced different types of mediumship and really practiced developing those different types of mediumship skills within me. I did readings for people at misas, for groups of people. I channeled spiritual guidance, channeled messages from spirits, and I also practiced doing that solitarily on my own. And then the very last thing I'll say about it, because I know I do this, I go off on these long stories, but I also worked for a psychic network during that time, and I didn't even know that I could provide readings from the deceased or mediumship readings using tarot cards until I started getting phone calls and people started requesting that I do it. And obviously I said, I'm not sure if I can do that, but I'll try. And I had some very intense experiences where energy from spirits were just pouring through me, and I was getting information, all kinds of information that even surprised me. And it was a really valuable, experiential learning process. So those are some of the some of the major points,
touch points along the way.
Yeah.
There was a question I just saw that somebody asked that, and as being brought up as Catholic, they have a hard time connecting to their ancestors, but their grandmother was a tarot reader. How can I connect with them? And by them, I think they mean just their ancestors in general.
Yeah. So One of the things that I always like to remind people or let people know is that you don't have to connect with specific ancestors, especially when you're kind of a beginner or when you are a beginner and you're sort of starting from scratch with all of this. You really just need to set the intention that you would like to connect with a benevolent ancestor who has your spiritual progress and your personal growth in mind. These intentions are important. We all have ancestors that are not benevolent, right? And so you want to set the intention, and you want to just be open to who might come through. But the other piece of that puzzle is you need to get in touch with how your intuition works for you, because however your intuition works for you is the way that your psychic abilities are going to work for you. When we're connecting with ancestors, we're using some form of psychic ability to perform mediumship. So I always describe it like intuition is your gateway to a deeper psychic potential. And the way that you identify that is like, does your intuition speak to you through feelings in your body? Does it speak to you mostly through dreams? Does it speak to you mostly through visions? Are you a visual thinker, or do you have more of a propensity towards hearing? Do you receive your intuition as flashes of knowing, or do you receive your intuition as flashes of phrases or sounds that come through to you, or even snippets from the outside world? So knowing how your intuition works for you, you can identify how your ancestors may speak to you, or the guidance they may bring to you, or the energy they may bring to you, whatever the case may be. And you just need to set the intention, and then you just need to be consistent. And you can get as involved with this as you would like, or you can keep it as simple as you would like, but consistency is very important. Part of the reason that consistency is important is because you are developing a different part of your brain, and you're developing a different part of your spiritual connection. And if you do that in the same place and at the same time, and on a regular basis, then you are going to, over time, be able to more and more easily snap into that zone of intuition or psychic connection or spiritual connection. And so I recommend setting up a very simple altar. Does not have to be elaborate. Don't put out any offerings until you know that it is an ancestor coming through to you and you know that you want to develop that relationship with them. But you can light a white candle, put down a white cloth, and just, or you can go in nature or any place that feels good to you, just go there consistently and speak to them out loud, and then give yourself space and time to receive anything that might come through from them. And, you know, you can always take it to another level. And one of the things you might need to do if you're not very practiced at this kind of thing is to do some meditation before you even go into speaking to them, just to get yourself more kind of in the zone and more open and more receptive. There's a million other directions I could go with that, but I need to rein myself in.
And you just were talking about with intuition and how it shows up for you. And initially you were talking about the ancestors came through to you in dreams. But when you're doing a reading now, how do people's ancestors appear to you? Like, do they appear? Do they speak? How do you receive any messages from them?
Yeah. So at this stage in my life, I have a few different psychic abilities that have become more prominent. In the past, I would have said I'm mostly, an intuitive. I'm mostly an empath. That things mostly speak to me through energy as well as clairaudience. Now at this stage, I have a lot more clairvoyance as well. And so it's really a combination of things that happen. And it really just depends on the day and the ancestor and who knows what it depends on. But there'll be a variety of ways that they will come through. Now, for these Samhain season readings, I use cards. I don't always use cards when I do readings, and I don't always use cards when I do mediumship readings. But for the Samhain season readings, I use the cards so that I can get the message, basically so I can get it more efficiently and more quickly and provide a reading that is not as intense as some of my other readings may be, meaning as in depth. These are meant to be something that are more easily digestible. They're kind of like mini readings, really. But the details that I get are in depth. The messages that I get are in depth. It's just by using the cards, I'm able to get that information in a quicker amount of time, and I'm able to bring through other details that would take me longer to get if I were doing a different kind of reading. So the point is I'm tuning into the cards, which are a portal in and of themselves. The cards help me to get into that realm. And then but the cards aren't the end of the story. Like, I'm using my gifts as well. So I'm able to use a combination of things to paint a bigger picture. So I'll be looking at the cards for generalized themes, like, okay, this ancestor seems to be bringing through a lot of earth-centered energy. So perhaps this person needs some grounding right now, or this person really needs to be healing in their root chakra, or these ancestors are saying get closer to the earth or move into the country, a variety of different things. So I'm looking at the cards, first of all, for general themes, and then I'm getting into the zone and I'm tuning into myself and my guidance, and I'm allowing myself to be open to the energy from the other realm that wants to come through to me, setting an intention for the client. We want the message that is most beneficial to them from the ancestor who most wants to speak to them with the guidance that they most need now. And then I'll start getting other things. I'll start getting visions. Yesterday I was doing several readings and I was getting a lot of visions. I was seeing details about the appearance of ancestors. I was seeing details about their energy. I was seeing details about what their personalities, and I was seeing those things visually. Now, sometimes it will just be like a rush of energy and I'll feel their spirit and I'll be able to talk about what kind of a person they are, or what kind of a message or guidance or energy that they are channeling through. And then, other things come through too, like phrases, words. A lot of times it's just like 1 to 3 words. Sometimes I see the words, sometimes I hear the words. So it's really a combination of things.
A lot of things going on from the sounds of it all at once.
Yeah. And, that's a good point, because people ask me all the time, like the question we had earlier, how do I connect with my ancestors? And this is one of the reasons that I always let people know it's really important to start developing some kind of meditation practice, start being able to sit with yourself and pay attention to your intuition and really pay attention to what's going on. Because if you don't have some kind of an awareness of this, and you can't discern your everyday thoughts from these other things, or you're not able to develop the focus and the concentration to really tune into other things that are happening underneath the surface, you're not going to be able to receive these messages. You have to do some development, you have to do some self-awareness, you have to have some focus, some concentration, and know how your intuition works, and know how to shut off your everyday thoughts and just turn into another avenue of life, another avenue of energy. So yeah, because there is a lot going on. There's a lot going on underneath the surface of things, and it is going on for a lot of people, and sometimes they don't know it, sometimes they can't discern it.
Can you talk a little bit about who can be your ancestors? Like, does it have to be someone in my lineage? Does it have to be someone who is so many degrees removed from me? Or can it be my grandmother who died last year? Or like, what kind of people can be considered my ancestors?
Yeah, really good question. Um, I've received so many questions about that over the years. My beliefs about that have changed, and they've changed partially based upon my personal experience. So, the first thing I would say is that I used to believe, and most people do believe, especially from a spiritualist perspective, that ancestors who are recently deceased are not going to come through for you until like 3 years or so. But when my grandmother died, I had a different experience. She came through less than a year later. She came through almost immediately. Um, and then she kind of left. And then she, before the end of that year, she was a really strong presence for me, and is now a really strong presence for me. And I believe that that has something to do with a soul contract, which is something that spiritualists and a lot of different people believe, that if you have an ancestor who is a guide, or who, as we say, is walking with you, it is because of a soul contract that you have. So this is someone that you have known before you were alive, and someone you will know after you were alive, and someone who has agreed to be a kind of guide for you. And now, something important to note is that different ancestors are going to have different types of expertise. And sometimes it's kind of based on their personality. It's like, okay, if your uncle was a mechanic and he wasn't a very emotional person, he's probably not going to be the ancestor that's going to come through to you to talk to you about like matters of the heart and emotional development, just as a blanket example. But also, they may not be the same personality in the other realm that
Mm-hmm.
they were when they were alive. So, there are multiple layers to this, and spirits themselves have different areas of expertise. So you could have an ancestor who specializes in energy healing. You can have an ancestor who specializes in developing your psychic abilities. There's all kinds of different things. Um, Remind me again of the original question, because I think maybe I have a different point.
No, my question, like, so obviously, like, your grandparents can come through as your ancestors, and like you said, it might be a varying amount of time. Is it just people in my lineage? Like, can someone who maybe isn't blood related to me be an ancestor?
Definitely. And there are a lot of different traditions that believe this. There are a lot of different traditions all over the world throughout time and history, and in different cultures, that believe this. And so some people believe really strongly that you can have an ancestor of a tradition, right? So let's say that you were becoming initiated in and very involved in a specific spiritual tradition or path. You may have an ancestor of that path that comes through to you. Now, that is using ancestor in a loose way, but that is how most people would refer to it, like an ancestor of a tradition. Um, a lot of people believe in and practice with like ancestors of divination. So there are a lot of different ways to go with that. And then the other thing is, like, I have relatives who were not blood related to me, but were my relatives, like, that I grew up with, that I've been really close to, that have come through to me really strongly and stayed near me, specifically like during specific periods in my life. So that's one more detail as well. They don't always stay your whole life. You may have, so in spiritualism, we say a primary ancestor, your high river owl healing. Um, you, if you have a primary ancestor, they are likely to stay with you your entire life. But generally speaking, all ancestors can come and go, and different ones will come through to you when you need them most. when their area of expertise lines up with the phase of life that you're in, or when you really need them. Maybe you're off track and they're coming in to be like, hey, we need to realign some things. So I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Let us know if you have
And
questions, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I love to see all of the new faces. And please let us know if you have questions about ancestral messages, ancestor readings, mediumship, all kinds of things related.
you mentioned about having to ask the intention that it's a benevolent ancestor, and I know you mentioned having some experiences with less than benevolent ancestors. Um, is that ever like disturbing for you? And what do you do to protect yourself and try to prevent that from happening? Can you prevent it from happening?
Mm-hmm. You can prevent it from happening 95% of the time. I have not had experiences with ancestors who are not benevolent. I have had experiences with spirits who are not benevolent and who may want to pretend that they are an ancestor, or who may want to pretend that they are a spirit guide. To be very honest, in my opinion and in my experience, you cannot 100% prevent a spirit like that from coming through. But what you can do is be prepared and protect yourself to the best of your ability and know how to banish a spirit. Metaphysics 101, don't ever call anything into existence if you don't know how to then deal with its existence. This goes for everything. A spell, a spirit, a manifestation. If you can't handle it or you don't know what you're going to do once it's there, don't call it. Don't call it, you know. I think the other part of your question was, is that disturbing? The answer is yes. I haven't had very many, okay? And I'm like, you know, how old am I? 47. I'm 47 years old. I have been practicing these things since I was 15, and I have only had a handful of scary experiences, and most of those are before I knew what in the world I was doing, and I was taking stupid chances. I only have one scary experience from the past 20 years. Well, I don't know, 15 years. And that, are we still connected? Can you hear me and see me, Erin? I can't hear you. Your sound cut off. Are we frozen? There we go. So I only had one scary experience in the last 15 years. And one of the things you need to know about unsettling spirit experiences is that they usually, the things you see in movies are not really happening. These are not poltergeists that are trying to possess you and take over your body. You're not going to have to get an exorcist from a priest. You're going to be okay. Especially if you know how to protect yourself and you know how to banish a spirit. I can't emphasize that enough. But the thing is, they're just like people, right? So, I mean, not just but they have a lot of the similar qualities that people have. And so a wayward spirit is a spirit that needs something or wants something and doesn't know how to get it, and is trying to get attention or trying to get energy, or just hasn't learned yet. It's not spiritually evolved. It's a spirit that is not spiritually evolved. And so it's coming through aggressively. It might be trying to take something from you. It might be trying to take your energy, trying to feed off of you, feed off of your light. And I know that all sounds very nefarious, But if you really think about it in practical terms, there are plenty of people walking around on earth that are trying to do the same exact thing. And so if you can like train yourself that the supernatural is really not so bizarre, it's really a natural part of life, and with some practice and with some mental training, you can deal with this in a similar way that you would just somebody that you don't want in your life. Like, put up boundaries. No, I don't want you in my life. I don't want you taking my energy. You're going to leave now. So just knowing that as long as you have the skills to protect yourself and banish, they're not going to be like taking over your life, taking over your house, or doing anything insane. I'm not saying it could never happen, but most of the time, they're not, nothing's going to like fly around your room or anything like that.
That's good to know.
Yeah,
That's good.
but I mean, what happened to me is I felt a presence that I did not feel good at all. And they were trying to come through my body. That's because I was actively practicing channeling spirits through my body. So I had opened myself up to that with protection. And they were actively trying to come through my body. And I could tell from the feeling right away that it was not a spirit that I wanted to deal with, that they were pretending to be a spirit guide and they were not, and that they were right away trying to drain my energy. And so I just, used all of my skills of banishing, and they left. And then I took a break for a minute.
Oh. So is there anyone specific that you think could really benefit from getting an ancestor reading? Or are there people looking for certain things that you think this reading is really probably going to be the most helpful for?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not objective. So, in my opinion, everybody can benefit from an ancestor reading, but there definitely are specific circumstances and phases in your life where this reading may be even more beneficial for you if you're really needing some spiritual guidance right now, first of all. So that means if you are in the process of transformation in your life, if you have a lot of things that are uncertain about your life right now, if you're not sure what direction you're going to go or what choices or decisions you're going to make, if there are a lot of things up in the air about your future, if you're finding yourself at a crossroads, but specifically if you're going through a lot of change, a lot of transformation, and of course that can be internal, not just external. In fact, when you're going through internal transformation, I think is the most powerful time to receive some beneficial guidance from your benevolent ancestors who are walking with you all the time, whether you know it or not. Because they can really bring to light what it is you need to recognize about yourself and about the changes you're going through right now. And really like the core of the guidance, like the meat of the spiritual guidance that you really need in order to like get to that next level. Like they will give you something too that really resonates with you, that is personal to you, that you can kind of hold on to as your, as almost like your life raft to get to the next stage. The other time, or another reason why you may really benefit from an ancestor reading, is if you are somebody who has a spiritual practice or a spiritual propensity, and you know that you're receiving messages from your ancestors, whether that's like through your dreams or whether you're just feeling it in general, or you're receiving some kind of synchronicities or signs from the outside world, or you're working really hard on your dedication to your ancestors, on building that relationship and on venerating them, and you're at that stage where you're like getting glimpses of what they want to bring through to you, but you're not getting the full picture, right? Maybe you're seeing visions and you don't exactly know what they mean, or maybe you're getting snippets of phrases and words and you don't know exactly what it is. A reading from me can really help to bring that all together. and make it clear to you. And a lot of us, like for a long time, most of what I received from the spiritual realm was energy, being an empath first, like being and a clairsentient, being someone whose first gift has always been clear feeling, and sensitivities to others. If you are someone like that, then there will be a lot of times where you're receiving energy. You can feel a spirit, you know something's going on, but you're like, why? What? Do you have something to say?
Yes.
Is this gonna help me? How? So I can fill in those
Yes.
pieces. I can bring that together. I mean, through the ancestors.
Yes. Yes. I feel like that a lot. Like I feel like I'll get the feeling or I'll get the ear ringing and think there's something there. What is that?
Right. Yeah. Let's see. Was there something else that we needed to say about who would benefit from these kinds of readings?
I also just wanted to point out, I know you mentioned you only do it this time of year. You do
Yeah.
lots of other readings all year long, but these specific ancestor readings are only done this time of year, which
Yeah.
is Samhain.
Yes, these Samhain season readings are only done during the month of November, and this reading is going to be available until November 27th. I think that's like 2 weeks away or a week and a half. I'm not sure. And yeah, and the readings I have really devised for this time of year, they are kind of bite-sized, potent messages. So it's something that is really designed to bring you a lot of concentrated information and specific details, but in a very digestible kind of little package. And it's just something very special that I do this time of year. And the reason that I do it this time of year is because the veil is thin, my gifts are stronger, the spirit world is louder, divination is different. My connection to the other realms is more potent and more lively, and that's true for anybody who practices these kinds of things or has this kind of gift. But it's easier and clearer and more powerful for me to sit down at this time of year and just get messages and get them to you. And so this is the time to do it.
Great. If anyone who's has any questions, you can go ahead and put them in comments if you want to.
Yeah, I see some new faces here. Hi, Sensation. Hi, Anna Paulina, perhaps, maybe, I don't know. Briho, Mary Elizabeth, Chicheli Taro, El Chupacabricon, El Chupacabricorn. That is a hilarious name. Hi. Does anyone have any questions? I saw River Owl Healing here. I saw I saw someone else that I know who I don't know if they want to be named. But if you have questions, pop them in the comments now. So thank you. So nice to see you today. So I'm Miss Melinda from MissMelindasMetaphysicalServices.com and from MissMelinda.com. And the Samhain season readings are available on MissMelindasMetaphysicalServices.com. And they're available until November 27th. I'm doing them at least once or twice a week right now, so the turnover time. And not tomorrow, Friday, Erin and I are going to be back here live, and I'm going to perform a live ancestor reading for her. I'm probably going to do a miniature version. It's going to be about half the size of an ancestor reading that I do on a regular basis, but if you want to join us at noon no, Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Standard Time, United States, on Friday at noon, Erin and I will be here doing a live reading. I'll be performing an ancestor reading, a real reading, not a sample, for Erin live. And so if you want to know more about these readings and you want to see how it's done and you want to see what kind of guidance might come through to you, if you want to see how I use the cards to pick up on general themes and how I piece that together with my intuition and with channeling and with my other psychic abilities, I'm going to do all of that live with Erin. It's going to be awesome. So come back and join us on Friday. It will be super fun. And if you think of any new questions between now and Friday, bring them. Bring them.
I'm so excited. I can't wait. And hi, River Owl Healing. It's so nice to meet you too. And hopefully you can join us again on Friday.
Yeah, everybody welcome Erin. She's amazing. She's my rock.
I'm so excited though. I'm really looking forward to Friday.
Me too. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to do your reading. I can't wait to find out what comes through to
you. Me too. Me too.
And it's going to be live.
It's going to be live. So we have no idea what's coming through. I've got some really fun ancestors, so I can't wait to see who shows up.
Oh, I love funny ancestors. So if there's anything like super juicy, I'll say, okay, I'll tell you about that.
Okay, that's a deal. That's a deal.
Okay, well, I think that's everything we need to go over today. Can you think of anything important that we didn't cover?
I don't think so. Miss Melinda's metaphysicalservices.com. It's the ancestor reading.
Yep,
book one.
Samhain season reading. Samhain season reading available until November 27th. See you all on Friday, I hope.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
I will be there. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing everyone soon.
Thanks to everyone who came today. Have a great day. Many blessings. Much love. Bye-bye.